welcome back to my kitchen. So I'm very, very excited to share today's recipe. And I have a very special guest with me today, my mother, Susan. So what we're gonna make today has been passed down for generations in my family. It started with my great-great-grandmother Easton, who passed it on to my nanny, which perfected it, and she taught my mother. So every generation of women in my family has learned to make these, and my mom is gonna show us how to make them today. Let's start with the ingredients. Okay, let's talk about the ingredients. The ingredients in this recipe are pretty limited and pretty simple, but it's all the work you put in to make these noodles great. So let's talk about them. We have flour. You're gonna need 5 to 6 cups of flour. Mama's gonna show us how to do that right, because you put in a cup at a time, I believe. You're gonna need a rolling pin to roll out the noodles. You're gonna need 9 eggs. You're gonna need 2 cubes of bouillon, which would make 4 cups of chicken broth, or you need 4 small cubes. And then you need 2 tablespoons of salt, and then you're gonna need a lot of chicken broth. You're gonna need 6 32-ounce containers of chicken broth. Now this recipe, obviously to make smaller amounts, can be broken down. But this is how we make it, and it can be frozen and used later too as well. All right, so Mom, you wanna join me? My mom's here, and we're going to get on our aprons. We're gonna pull our hair back like always, and we are about to get messy. Okay, so it's time to get messy, and Mama's gonna tell me how to do all this. So let's get started. What do I do first, Mom?
You're gonna crack all 9 eggs in your bowl.
Okay, make first one. Let's see how many shells I can get in here, shall we? 1. So I know in many families, everyone has their traditions on big get-togethers and holidays. My husband's tradition was they would always make a whole bunch of a big vat of pasta sauce and pasta. In other families, they do latkes, and every family has their tradition. In our family, when we had big get-togethers growing up, whether it was for holidays or other reasons, big pots of noodles. Almost there.
This is probably a Midwest tradition.
Yes. It's similar, and it is not the same, but, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think that it may get its traditions from German, right? For kind of noodles that they do in the German restaurants is about as close to it as I have seen. But yes, much more popular in the Midwest. It's an inexpensive thing to make, and it really fills people up too, so I think that was part of it. Probably one of the reasons it started so long ago. All right.
Okay, now we're gonna mix up the eggs, break down the yolk and all that.
Okay.
Twist it a little bit. Break the yolks.
Just break them?
Yeah.
It's not gonna...
That won't matter.
And
We're gonna need it. We're gonna really need it, so it's gonna all break down.
Is that good enough?
That's good enough.
Okay.
You wanna add your 2 tablespoons of salt.
Okay. We'll do that. Okay. I'm using Himalaya salt, but you can use any kind of salt in this, correct, Mom? Okay, what's next?
Okay, and we're gonna start adding the flour.
Okay,
Okay, it's gonna get hard to stir as you go.
okay,
First you want to stir it because you don't want the goo from the eggs on your
Okay.
hands.
All right.
Until it gets pretty firm, then we're going to knead it with our hands.
okay, so I'm gonna wanna take my rings off.
Yes.
That's gonna be imperative, I think. All right, goes there. So 1 cup at a time?
1 cup
So
at a time.
I
makes
brought
it
a
even.
cup. I'll just do that. So I'm gonna dump this in.
You might start with 2 cups.
2 cups?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with 2 cups.
Okay.
Mix it.
This is going to look a little lumpy, but that's okay.
Okay.
Because we'll start kneading it and it'll
Gotcha.
knead all the lumps out.
I add more now or?
Yeah, you can add more now.
Okay, a cup.
Yeah.
All right.
Makes it easier to stir until it gets doughy.
Then I'll wash my hands and we'll get messy.
I'd add one more cup and then you may have to switch to kneading it with your hands.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to add my 4th cup of flour. Stir it up.
Now at the time you're probably going to use your hands.
Use my hands at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we're at the point I'm going to use my hands to knead in. I couldn't get the full 4 cups using the spoon. So now I'm going to get gooey and messy. All right, so we added our 5th cup of flour. And we're just kneading. It's starting to feel more like Play-Doh a little bit at this point.
Our family loves really tough egg noodles.
Yes, so if you like your noodles a lot tougher, then you're going to use more flour. If you like them a little softer, you'll use less flour.
Exactly.
So it's to your liking. We're at 5 cups right now. We'll see if we go on to a 6 cup or not after I get done working out here.
Do it till you need it until you don't feel sticky anymore in the dough.
That's gonna be tough because my hands are pretty sticky at the moment.
I know. We have to wash them and then
Yeah.
try it again.
Go back to it. Yeah, I think it's time for me to wash all this gooiness off my fingers and then keep kneading. So I will be back. Let me just go wash my hands real quick. Okay, I washed my hands.
And at this point, we're going to flour the counter and we're going to knead it outside the bowl. It's a little easier.
Okay. She'll flour it. Alright. Just kind of like this.
Yep.
Let's roll it.
Pretty firm.
Still a little gooey in the middle. Okay. Add some more flour. Add some more flour. That's about 1/3 of a cup that we're adding. Could get your frustration out.
It's a good workout, that's for sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Now what do I do?
feels pretty good. So we're gonna make it into a ball.
One ball?
Yeah, one big ball.
Okay.
And then we're gonna split it in half
Okay,
because
gotcha.
it's easier to roll out in 2 halves than to try to roll out this big thing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and then you just split it in half. I just do it with my hands.
Okay.
Put one back in the bowl. I'm working with the other one.
Okay. Put this one back in here. And now we're gonna roll out.
You're gonna roll it out, squish it real. Try to get all the little seams out.
Oh, I see.
I'm gonna put more flour down for you because you're
Okay.
gonna need a lot of it.
Okay. Okay.
Put that right in the middle.
Okay.
You're gonna smash it with your hands down.
Okay. Start
I'm gonna put a
rolling.
little flour on top because sometimes it'll stick to the roll.
Okay.
Okay, and then start
Start
rolling.
on my rolling pin a little bit.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. And this is the really tough part. A lot of times I'll roll it this way, get it real long, and then turn it sideways.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Oh, I remember you doing that.
Yeah, because it's easier that way.
Just needed a refresher. I remember watching her do that. Nanny too much. So how thin do we want them, or thick?
We want them really thin
Okay.
because once you cook them, they'll plump up.
Okay.
So the thinner the better.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna put some more muscle into it. That's what she's saying.
Really good.
Is that all right?
That's about right. Just corners, just make sure.
Okay.
There you have it. That's what it looks like, and then we're gonna get ready to cut.
Sounds great. So I'll roll this other one out, and then we'll show you how we cut them out. Down.
We're gonna flour the cookie sheet so they don't stick to the cookie sheet after you cut them.
Okay. So we'll flour, we'll cut, and then we'll put the noodles on the cookie sheet. Got it. I'll let you flour some.
Okay.
Not sure how much.
Okay.
Okay. So that was about a quarter cup.
Yeah.
All right. And I just start this way.
Yeah, you cut down this way.
Okay.
About like that.
Okay. All right.
That width.
Okay.
A little narrower, and then this way. Like right here.
About there. Okay. And then the same across the
Yeah,
board.
all the way across.
Right. All right.
Okay. And then I try to cut them a little short. You want?
This way. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
So like this,
Yep.
right here,
Yep.
and then you stack them.
And then we're gonna stack them.
Gotcha. Okay. Up there.
Yep.
One more time.
Yeah, one more time. We'll do a little stack.
Okay.
Okay, then I just throw a little flour on this.
Okay.
Just sprinkle it on. That way they won't stick together when you go to cut.
I see.
Let me just stack
Makes
them.
sense. Okay.
Okay.
And then in the row, or
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Sideways.
okay.
Yeah.
So do this.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So when you cut them, I'll cut the first one to show you.
Okay.
It's really thin because I do fatten them.
Okay.
So about like this. It's
Alright.
probably a quarter to an eighth wide.
Gotcha. Quarter to an eighth of an inch wide.
Wide, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now
We just
sprinkle
take them and you try to separate them.
Okay.
You just sprinkle them all over the cookie sheet.
Gotcha. And we'll just do that for the rest of them, right? We'll just
Yes.
keep cutting and
Just keep cutting, keep adding.
keep spreading out. Okay. So you could make a really big batch and then just freeze it so you had an easy meal.
Yep.
And in our family, we ate these in two different ways. A lot of times we eat them with Thanksgiving and turkey or chicken in noodles, but we also do beef in noodles and they're used for that as well. And they're delicious either way.
When you do it with beef, you have beef broth instead of chicken broth.
Gotcha. So we'll finish this up to the very last cut here. Okay, so we're gonna let these set for an hour. We're gonna finish the other batch, because remember we split it in half, cut them out, set them out for an hour, and then we're gonna meet you back at the stove when we throw them into the chicken broth. So it's been an hour. How do I know that these are ready?
Okay, they get a little harder if you fill them and dry. They feel dry.
Yeah.
And then you know they're ready.
All right, so now will we get chicken broth boiling?
Then we get chicken broth boiling and put the cubes in with the broth, and it cooks all together before we put the noodles in.
All right, well, let's go show them how it's done. Okay, so we're gonna start pouring the chicken broth in, and then we're gonna add our bouillon. We're gonna turn this to high, Mom? Is that correct?
We're gonna get it boiling.
Okay. High. All right, so I'm gonna put the 5th one in, and we're gonna reserve the 6 32-ounce chicken broth to pour in case it gets too thick as we go. So there is the 5th one, and I'm gonna add my bouillon now. 2 cubes bouillon. Or if they're small cubes, then it would be 4. All right, we're gonna watch this and wait for it to boil, and then once it does, we'll add our noodles. Okay, so we got the chicken broth boiling, and now it's time to add the noodles. Mama, are you adding a little bit at a time?
Yeah, a little bit at a time and separate them.
Okay. This. Try not to plop them too hard and burn my hands, so I'll be gentle.
Just gonna stir as you put them in so they don't stick to the bottom.
Okay. These are similar to like chicken and dumplings. In fact, the recipe is identical except you don't roll it out or cut it like noodles. You keep it a little thicker when you're rolling it out to your liking for a dumpling, and when you cut it thicker, not into little strips. But basically they're like a dumpling noodle. All right, these very last ones in there. And then, how often do I stir this, Mom?
I'd stir it every 10 to 15 minutes because sometimes they'll stick to the bottom of the
So,
pot.
for an hour, right? They cook
For an
about an hour?
Yep, and they'll be
Keep
ready in
watching
an
it.
hour.
And
If your meat isn't ready on time, you can just simmer them and just keep stirring them until time. But an hour, they're usually done.
all right. Okay, so I guess we'll be back in an hour. Okay, so they're done. You could cook them longer if you wanted to, but they're tender and ready. So I'm just gonna take a little bit here in a bowl. Now, we oftentimes will serve these over mashed potatoes. They can be a side dish to meat, or they can just stand on their own and be the main dish. So, it's however you like them. Just gonna put a little bit in the bowl here. Ooh, look at that noodle. Big. Okay. Put them in here. Let's see, Mom. Let's see how I did it.
All right.
I've been eating these my whole life. So I'll know if I messed it up or not. I did it right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining my mother and I for this family tradition that we're passing on to you. I hope you enjoy it, and if you make it for others, I hope they enjoy it too. Until the next episode, have a great week.